Good morning, students. So, in the previous lecture, we discussed about the lattice enthalpy and the Born-Haber cycle, right? And as we know, your topic enthalpy of the solution, so delta sol H naught and enthalpy of the dilution, this both enthalpy has been eliminated from your syllabus. After that, they have also eliminated the topic spontaneity. Okay, so we are not going to talk about these three topics. And before we start our next topic, which is entropy and spontaneity, we are going to revise every single formula and every single condition that we have studied in this chapter. Okay, so let's start from the beginning. Okay, at first we derived our first law of the thermodynamics, which was delta U is equal to Q plus W, right? To derive this equation, we first took adiabatic process, where our internal energy change delta U was equal to work adiabatic, right? And at that time we know that we had heat resistive walls, that's why change in heat was 0. After that, our second case was when we took constant volume, and for that we derived that delta U is equal to QV. Why? Because of the constant volume, work was 0. After that, we derived a work formula for irreversible process, that was W is equal to minus P external, which is multiplied by delta V. Okay, and we put down this formula into the first law of the thermodynamics and derived that delta U is equal to P minus, sorry, not P, Q minus value of the W, P delta V. Okay, that was the irreversible condition. After that, we derived a work formula for reversible condition, and that was W equal to minus 2.303 into nRT into log Vf upon Vi. Okay, so that was the work formula for reversible process. After the completion of this formula, we come to know our next particular situation, where we took a isothermal process, and for isothermal process delta U is equal to 0, and because of that we come to know that Q is equal to minus W, right, for isothermal process. That's why isothermal process. Okay, so the work formula, when we put down the both of the work formula for the heat, or you can say energy change Q, we come to know that the formula negative sign will be replaced. So Q will be equal to P external delta V, P external into delta V, and for reversible process, it is irreversible process. Now for the reversible process, it will be equal to 2.303 Vf upon Vi. Okay, So, that was the applications of the first law of thermodynamics. After that, we discover a difference between isothermal process and adiabatic process, right? So, isothermal process, isolated system and adiabatic system. Okay. So, the difference between adiabatic system and isolated system, the first common thing was there was no change in heat. Heat resistive walls are present in both of them, that is why Q was equal to 0 in both the conditions. After that, we completed that we are not able to do any type of work in isolated system, but we can do work in adiabatic system. That is why work will not be equal to 0 in adiabatic system. Now, if work and heat both are 0, we know that change in internal energy will be also 0. Whereas, for adiabatic process, we know that change in internal energy will be equal to the work adiabatic, right? Now, that was the difference between isolated system and adiabatic system. After that, we discussed about extensive properties and the intensive properties. The properties depended on the quantity are known as a extensive properties, and the properties that are independent of the quantity, that are known as a intensive properties, right? And all the extensive property, when converted to the molar values, they become intensive properties. After that, we discussed about the heat capacity. Actually, we just immigrate the formula, that was Q is equal to C into delta T. Q is equal to C into delta T, where C is the heat capacity. There are total 3 type of heat capacity. A simple heat capacity unit has joule per Kelvin. After that, molar heat capacity, Cm is equal to unit has joule per Kelvin into mole, and after that, spatial heat capacity, specific heat capacity was joule per gram into Kelvin. Okay, and we come to know that delta H is equal to Qp, right? Delta H is equal to Qp. A change in heat at a constant pressure, and because of that we derived our next formula, that was delta H is equal to delta U plus P delta V. Okay, this particular equation can be applied for solid, liquid and as well as gas. But after that, we come to know that for the solid and liquids, volume will be constant. That is why delta H will be equal to delta U for solid and liquid, and delta H will be equal to QV. Okay. And for the gases, we used the ideal gas equation and derived a formula, delta H is equal to delta U plus delta NgRT. Okay, where delta Ng is equal to change in the gaseous mole. So, this equation is only applicable to the gaseous compounds, and there was a relation between Cp and Cv, which is equal to Cp minus Cv, which will be equal to gas constant R. After that, we discussed about some of the different type of enthalpies. Among them, the first enthalpy was reaction enthalpy, right? That was equal to delta RH naught. Okay. What was the first formula for reaction enthalpy? the addition of the molar enthalpy of the product minus addition of the molar enthalpy of the reagents. Okay. After that, we derived different enthalpy for the physical change. Physical change first was fusion enthalpy. Okay. When 1 mole of solid substance converted into liquid at a standard temperature and pressure, that enthalpy change is known as a standard fusion enthalpy. After that, we derived a enthalpy for vaporization, that will be delta vap H naught. 1 mole of liquid substance at constant temperature and pressure, 1 bar pressure converted into the vapor or gas, the energy change or the heat exchange is known as a standard enthalpy of the vaporization. After that, we discussed the same for the solid to gaseous compounds. 1 mole of solid substance at a constant temperature and 1 bar pressure converted into the gaseous compound, and the energy change for that particular scenario is known as a standard sublimation enthalpy, delta sub H naught. After the delta sub H naught, we discover a new term, that was formation enthalpy, standard formation enthalpy. Okay. Now, what is the standard formation enthalpy? When 1 mole of product is obtained from their elemental state at a standard state, okay, that energy will be known as a formation enthalpy. Now, all these three, fusion, vaporization and sublimation, are endothermic reaction, so enthalpy will be positive for that. Okay. After the introduction of the formation enthalpy, we derived a new formula for the reaction enthalpy, and that was addition of the formation enthalpy of all the products minus addition of all the enthalpies of the formation of reagents. Okay. After the formation enthalpy, we come to know a term, atomic enthalpy, or you can say enthalpy of the atomization, where we converted 1 mole of compound or substance or a molecule into the atoms. Okay. After that, we discussed bond enthalpy. There were two different type of bond enthalpy. First was bond dissociation enthalpy, and after that we discussed mean bond enthalpy. After the bond enthalpy, we had another formula for the reaction enthalpy, and that was addition of all the bond enthalpy of the reagent. Now it is opposite, minus all the bond addition of all the bond enthalpy of the products, because in the bond enthalpy we are breaking bond, and in the formation we are forming a new bond. After the bond enthalpy, we discussed lattice enthalpy, that was delta lattice H naught, right. Between them, we discussed delta C H naught, which is combustion enthalpy. Okay. And in the Born-Haber cycle, we used different type of enthalpies there also. Okay. The first enthalpy was ionization enthalpy, delta I H naught. After that, electron gain enthalpy, delta E G H naught. Ionization enthalpy means removal of 1 electron from 1 mole compound, and electron gain enthalpy is the addition of 1 mole electron into 1 mole compound. Okay. After that, we discussed the Born-Haber cycle, and after the completion of the Born-Haber cycle and the Hage law, we have two particular enthalpies, that is delta Sol H naught and delta Hyde H naught. Delta Hyde means hydration enthalpy and delta Sol means solution enthalpy. So, these are the list of the total enthalpies that we have studied in this chapter. reaction enthalpy, fusion enthalpy, vaporization enthalpy, sublimation enthalpy, formation enthalpy, atomization enthalpy, bond enthalpy, lattice enthalpy, combustion enthalpy, ionization enthalpy, electron gain enthalpy, solution enthalpy and hydration enthalpy. And after that we discover one new formula, and that was simply delta sol H naught, means solution enthalpy, standard solution enthalpy will be equal to delta lattice H naught. So standard lattice enthalpy plus delta Hyde H naught, delta Hyde H naught, right? So that was the last formula that we have discussed in this chapter. So till now we have completed this much amount of the portion in this chapter. The quick revision was necessary to remind you all the formulas of this chapter. Okay. Now sign convention. First of all, if heat Q is absorbed, we have not mentioned that, so I am going to mention this over here. If Q is absorbed, Q will be positive, absorbed by the system. So if system absorbs heat, Q will be positive, and because of that delta U will be also positive. Okay. After that, if heat is released, heat will be released from the system to the surrounding, then delta U will be also negative because Q will be negative. After that, that condition was also explained for the work. That's why if W is positive, that means work is done on system. That's why U will be, delta U will be also positive, and if W is minus, that means work is done by the system. Okay. That's why delta U will be negative. And we discussed the enthalpy changes also. If delta H is positive, that means exothermic reaction is there and heat is being released. Sorry, endothermic reaction is there and heat is being absorbed. Okay. And if delta H is negative, that means exothermic reaction is there and heat is being released. So this much amount of information was given till now in this chapter. This is all of your chapter. You can revise your chapter from this particular page also. So write it down in your front page of this chapter. Okay. Now let's talk about our next topic, entropy and the spontaneity. Now spontaneity is a topic where every single thing is important for us. For example, spontaneity means the reaction which is occurring on its own. A reaction which is occurring on its own, the reaction which do not require any material medium to do or complete the reaction. Okay. For example, burning of any fossil fuels. For example, we are burning coal. So we just have to ignite the coal. After that, coal will continuously going to burn on its own, right? So we just need to push, or we just need to provide some sufficient amount of the energy so that spontaneous reaction take places, right? Likewise, water H2NO2 in the oxygen or in the air do not react by itself with each other, but if we just spark it out, both are going to connect with each other and form water. So what I am trying to say is spontaneity means the reaction which occurs on its own. Now not all of the reaction occurs on its own. Not all the reaction are spontaneous. So how can we decide the reaction is spontaneous or not? For that we need particular terms or particular cases, like we use the cases for the derivation of the first law of the thermodynamics, delta U is equal to Q plus W. In that case, we first took a case of adiabatic process, and after that we get work equal to 0. So that by using these two cases, we come to know that delta U is equal to Q plus W. Likewise, for the spontaneity relation, we are going to use different two cases. Among them, the first case is enthalpy. We know that enthalpy is related to spontaneity. Why? Because if heat is released, delta H is negative, that means exothermic reaction is there and product is more stable compared to reagent. And whenever product is more stable compared to reagent, spontaneous reaction take places. So all the exothermic reactions are spontaneous. Okay, all the exothermic reactions are spontaneous. But what about endothermic reaction? Are all the endothermic reaction are non-spontaneous? No. Some of the endothermic reaction are also spontaneous. For example, look at this. This reaction has positive enthalpy change. That means it is endothermic reaction. Still it is spontaneous reaction. Carbon combining with sulfur forming carbon disulfide also has endothermic reaction. Still it is spontaneous reaction. That means we cannot explain why some of the endothermic reaction are spontaneous. Cannot decide. Okay. So endothermic reaction are spontaneous or non-spontaneous. We cannot decide by just using enthalpy. We need one another parameter which can explain why endothermic reactions are spontaneous. Okay. For that, we are going to take one another case. That second case is entropy. That is included in our syllabus, entropy. Okay, now what is entropy? Entropy is nothing but disorder. Entropy is nothing but a disorder. Okay, what is disorder? Randomness. You can use word randomness also. Okay. So let's follow the text, so everything should be explained better. What drives a spontaneous process in the given direction, especially for endothermic reaction? Let us examine such a case where enthalpy change is equal to 0. There is no change in enthalpy, but still reaction is spontaneous. We are going to take one example of that particular reaction where enthalpy change is 0, but still reaction is spontaneous. For that, diffusion of two gases. If suppose this is the room and I am diffusing oxygen gas from here and hydrogen gas from the bottom of the room, after some amount of time both of the gases are going to diffuse with each other. They are going to mix with each other, right? And for that we haven't changed any type of enthalpy. Enthalpy change is 0 for that, right? Still reaction occurs on its own, diffusion occurs on its own. So reaction occurs spontaneously. So what is the parameter over here? That is the entropy. Okay, and entropy is nothing but the randomness. For that they have given us one particular solution. Look at this. They have taken one container in figure number 6.11. Look at this. Here we have one container which is separated from the surrounding. It is separated from the surrounding. Okay. Now in this container I have one particular partition. Okay. Because of that partition, in a one part of the container there is a black molecules and in another part of the molecule there is a white molecules. Okay. Now if I told you to close your eyes and you already know that left part has black particles and right part have white particles. Okay, so after closing your eyes, if you put down your hand in the left part, left container, there is how much probability that you will get black particles? Okay, it was a certain. Why? Because you already know that there is only black particle in the left side. So you will be confident about your answer that all the particles will be black. Same goes with the right side. If you put your hand in the right side, all the particles will be white. But what if the partition that is separating both the gases, if I remove that particular partition, then both gases are going to mix with each other. They are going to diffuse with each other, right? That means there is randomness or disorder between gases, and because of that randomness they are going to mix with each other. And now if you put your hand inside the container, you will be not confident that whether it is a black molecules only or white molecules only. So that is randomness. As randomness increases, reaction becomes spontaneous. So what is the path of the reaction? Less randomness to the higher randomness. What is the path of reaction? Lesser randomness towards the higher randomness. So reagent will have less randomness, whereas product will have higher randomness, and randomness is known as a entropy. Randomness is known as a entropy, which is symbolized by capital S. Okay, a new term, new thermodynamic function, entropy. Symbol is S and it is equal to randomness. Okay. Now let's go to the text. Let us consider diffusion of two gases into each other in the closed container which is isolated from the surrounding or separated from the surrounding. Now the two gases, say gas A and B, are represented as a black dot and white dots respectively and separated by a movable partition in a figure A, right? When the partition is withdrawn, the gas being to diffuse into each other, and after a period of time diffusion will be completed. Now let us examine the process. Before the partition, if we were to pick up the gas molecules from the left container, we would be sure that it will be the molecules of A, and similar if we pick from the right container, it will be molecules of gas B. But if we put up molecules from container when partition is removed, we are not sure whether the molecules picked are of gas A or B. That means we can say that system has become less predictable or more chaotic. System has become less predictable and more random, more chaotic. We may now formulate another postulate. In isolated system, there is always a tendency for a system energy to become more disordered or chaotic or random, and they could be criterion for spontaneous change. Criterion. What will be the criteria for the spontaneous change? System that is isolated from the surrounding will always have tendency to become more random or more chaotic. At this point, we introduce another thermodynamic function, entropy, denoted as a S. The above mentioned disorder is the manifestation of entropy. Manifestation means another word for entropy. Okay. To form a mental picture, one can think of entropy as a measurement of degree of the randomness or the disorder in the system. As the randomness increases, entropy increases. Okay. Greater the randomness or disorder in the isolated system, higher will be the entropy, right? As far as chemical reaction is concerned, this entropy change can be attributed to rearrangement of atoms or ions from one pattern in the reactants to the another pattern in the product. If the structure of the product is very much disordered, then the reagent, there will be result increase in the entropy, and if entropy increases, reaction will be spontaneous, and if entropy decreases, reaction will be non-spontaneous. The change in entropy accompanying a chemical reaction may be estimated qualitatively by the consideration of the structures of the species taking part in the reaction. That means decrease of regularity in the structure would mean increase in entropy for a given substance. Okay, what substance is the most organized or most regular? It is crystallized form of a solid. Any solid which is crystallized is a very regular or a very orientated or a very classic example of perfect regular shape or arrangement. Okay, that's why the crystalline solid state is the lowest enthalpy, in the sense most ordered, most regular, whereas gaseous compound will be the most random because it have highest entropy. That was all for this lecture. Okay, in the next lecture we are going to derive formula for the entropy. Okay.